There we go. There we go. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Producers Club, Producers Mindset. I'm here with Anthony Bedgood. Anthony, long time
Hello.
ago, we just spent some super quality time in Atlanta, the family event.
Yes.
Um, I asked you earlier if you recovered from the event, a lot of learning.
It's a Keller Williams. It's a fire hose of information, but it's all amazing and valuable information. I call it like the salad bar. Is there's so many options, and you get to pick and choose kind of what you're gonna ingest that day. So amazing
I
stuff.
love that. I didn't hear that analogy yet. The salad bar. I'm gonna use that instead of the buffet. So, uh, sounds
It's
healthy.
healthier. The salad bar is healthier.
Sounds healthier. Yeah. Um, Anthony, I know you for so long, but even with that, I mean, every time I get a chance to see you, spend time with you, I learn, more about you, which is always impressive. Um, tell us tell us a bit more about yourself, like your background, and then we'll kind of jump into real estate.
Yeah, so that's kind of my MO too is under promise over deliver. I don't share too much at the beginning so I don't disappoint anybody. But I got my start in my career began in sales and since I was 16 years old, I was in retail sales when I got my first job. I was Pacific Sunwear in the mall selling board shorts to surfers and skaters all over the place. And, I look like a total surfer and skater. But, from there, it was like Blockbuster Video and,
Wow.
all kinds of stuff. I still remember picking up the phone and being like, "Hi, thank you for calling Blockbuster Video, where you can pre-order 101 Dalmatians, blah, blah, blah." Like it's the whole thing, right? So I was always in some sort of sales and service job. And my previous career, right before getting into real estate, was I was a buyer for a scrap metal company. And to get a little perspective on difficult sales jobs, be a buyer for a scrap metal company. You walk into a machine shop or an aerospace shop, the owner is wearing jeans and a t-shirt covered in oil, doesn't care who you are, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, you're a scrap metal guy. You're here to steal from me." So talk about a very aggressive, difficult sell, right? So getting into real estate, I was like, wow, people actually want what I do. Fantastic. So it made things a little easier. I know people think that this is a difficult job, and it can be at times, but you know, go try to do that and then come back and you'll be an amazing realtor.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. So when did you find out about this real estate world, or when did you decide to, go professional?
It's funny too, is that I'm actually in the conference room of the first brokerage that I joined in real estate. It's a boutique brokerage out here in Canyon Country, and I was dropping off my son this morning and couldn't make it to the SRAR building to do this. So I was like, "Don't burn your bridges. That's the number one thing." So they let me in and use their conference room. But my first mentor, who's a family member, uh, she was showing me and my wife houses one day, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you know what? I'm going to lose a client, but you need to get your real estate license." And I was like, I don't why I have this career, but in my previous career, I was working 16-hour days, which hasn't changed as you realtors know, but I needed something more local. We were talking about having kids, and my wife at the time, she was commuting out to Los Angeles, and we couldn't lose that job, but I could do something anywhere. And, we needed somebody to pick up kids and go to daycare and all of that stuff. So it kind of fit, right? It was a career that I didn't know, but I knew I could do it because I love connecting with people, right? So my mentor said, come and be a real estate agent. She, let me follow her around for a while. I passed my test and here I am. And I didn't know that I was going to fall in love with this industry, of course. You don't, not a 7-year-old going, "I'm going to be a real estate agent when I grow up." It's usually firemen or whatever.
Right.
But this is the greatest job, career, lifestyle that I've ever had, and I'll never leave it.
Well, and clearly you also took it to different heights, right? You're um, very involved in the industry, in the community of realtors.
Yes,
Um, Last year, you were the president of the SRAR board, the Southern Regional Board
yes.
of Association here in the Valley, which is one of the biggest boards in the state, right?
Yeah, I think it's the third or fourth largest board in California.
In California, yeah. So what makes a person, be involved in real estate? And but there was other stuff too. I'm going to touch it in a second, but
Sure.
and then say, I want to lead this massive organization on behalf of what?
I feel
Besides,
like I was
uh,
tricked into I was tricked into it by Brian
yeah,
Almeida. No, stuff like Leadership Academy, but ultimately, I think it boils down to something that I think everybody in this room has is a care and a love for service, right? I don't think you can be a realtor without being of the service mind, right? I never I've never been in law enforcement. I've never been in the military, you know. So my family has always taught us that to live a fulfilling life, you have to give back and you have to be of service to your fellow human beings. And I found that this is my outlet to give back, not only to my clients, but to my industry. So I jumped in headfirst from the beginning and started with our local Santa Clarita Council and saw how beneficial that was to my clients and to everyone around me, just knowing what's happening in local government, what's happening in the industry, and being able to give that information. And then I started caring about realtors and what's going on, like, what's going on in California legislation that's, always kind of, hurting us or making it more difficult for us to succeed. So, um, if you want to be, if you want change, you have to be the change. And, went to Leadership Academy to grow my knowledge there, met Brian Almeida. And ever since we've been pushing each other to just serve more and more and more and give back. We're all at philanthropy. We're all into philanthropy. Um, we've all got philanthropic. I can't even say that word today. It's too early in the morning. Not enough coffee. But um, everybody in this room believes in giving back. If you're a realtor, you believe in your community and making it better in your industry. So what a better way to volunteer, join, be a part of committees, learn about technology, learn about what's going on in your community so you can pass that on to your clients. That was the main opus for it.
One thing I'm going to go back for a second. You mentioned, I think it's such a smart thing to state, but more so to act upon. And I always compliment people that come into the industry um, about who they were before
Mm.
or who they are currently. So a lot of us, we had to kind of transition from a different world, if not all of us, well, most of us. So I would say bring your past experience to this industry. But with what you just mentioned is it's also we have a platform, right? We have a platform
Yep.
that we can flourish upon and then contribute, give,
Yeah,
support.
absolutely.
And I think it's such a again, it's a servant leadership attitude, uh, but it's definitely took you to different heights.
Sure. I mean, and it goes along with, again, everything that we do day to day. We're here to be a service to our clients, but you just keep thinking bigger and thinking bigger and thinking bigger. And ultimately you end up people ask me all the time, like, why do you do this stuff? And I usually joke and say, because I'm a terrible business person and I believe in working hard for no money. But I mean, that's not really true. It's not really true. Actually, it is springboarded my business. Networking, people say, why do you go and network with other realtors? Well, in my community or any community that I'm working or any place that I'm a market expert, knowing the people I'm maybe showing a client their house, it's a lot easier if I've connected with somebody to, get information, maybe work through a deal. Sometimes I'm not the highest offer on the table, but I've broken bread with this person and they know my character, they know what I've done, they know my integrity, and maybe that gives my client a leg up, right? So I believe that networking and also being of service is something that can elevate you, right? So being the president of SRAR, for example, some people say it's a thankless job, but now when I go on a listing appointment, I say that I've networked with all the surrounding associations. I know agents from all over California. No one's going to cast a larger net than I will, right? So, and most people are like, a president of SRAR, I don't know what that means. But when I explain that to them, they're like, okay, I'll sign, right? Because they know that they want to get the most exposure possible. So why not, right? So it is a selling point, talking about all of these things and going up to Sacramento and learning about the legislation and door knocking and saying, not just, are you wanting to buy or sell, but going, do you know what's happening to local property taxes? Is huge. It's absolutely a game changer as far as how we communicate with clients and get them into know, love, and trust us.
No, I love that. And also, you position yourself within the industry, our own community. Granted, you can have a buyer and that you're working with and a listing agent from a whole different area that you don't know each other. But in most cases, if you're working locally, most likely the person would know, the other agent would know who you are,
Yep.
would know you. And
Yeah.
and it helps. Also, like it helps you to neutral, the or to set the expectations from the very beginning that hey, we're gonna have a great transactions because we're here to work together, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the old saying, don't be a secret agent, I'm pretty much screamed it from the rooftops what I do for a living. So everybody knows. It's a good thing.
Yeah, well, you definitely live by it. So you also been involved in different roles in Keller Williams besides being an agent, right? Running your own team, your different leadership position. Do you want to talk about a little bit about that? I mean, this is to lead an office, right? The team leader. It's a big job as well. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was funny the timing of everything. We were mid-pandemic when I was, just an individual agent really kind of coming into um, my leadership position in SRAR and really kind of things were catching fire with my business when I was recruited to be an ATL with Keller Williams. And whole different animal, right? I was like, okay, so you're gonna pay me to be in an office? I I got into real estate, so I didn't work 9 to 5 and get paid to be in an office. But then I started getting my weekends off, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. But so I really love teaching. I really love I'm a volunteer basketball coach. I coached high school basketball for the better part of 20 years. Uh, Inside of me, I'm a coach, and uh, helping somebody find their potential is kind of almost like a drug for me. Like it's such an amazing feeling that it's something that I incorporate to everything in my life. So getting that opportunity to teach real estate as well um, was amazing, and I jumped on it, as quickly as I could. And then I got the opportunity to become team leader and and a coach, and a personal coach for a lot of agents. And you know, I think once you start doing that for a while, we're so busy in helping our market centers that you kind of step away from your own personal business. And as team leader, you really don't have time to run your database and your book of business, but you're teaching everybody how to do it. And at some point, I kind of lost the fact that I'm really good at this until I took a step back and became an agent again. And I was like, oh, now I get to practice what I've been preaching. And guess what? It works. It completely works. I was like, oh, I'm going away from team leader and having weekends off to now I have no time off. I love every single moment of it. I was just telling my wife the other day, I was like, it's been months since I've had a day off. Yeah, I have times of leisure throughout the day and I can pick up my son and I can coach this basketball team, but I'm always working. I'm always connecting with clients. I'm always doing, working on my transactions. So, but this is why we do it. Like we are entrepreneurs. We are the ones who just can't stop the mind from wanting to create and grow and do all these things. So, having that perspective and helping other people with that, I think I got a sense of some people are ready for that, some people aren't. I think everybody can be successful at this, but not everybody's ready to be, right? But sometimes it's good to come back and challenge yourself and see if, you practice what you preach, or, putting the rubber to the road. And it turns out that all of the simple fundamental things that we teach all the time, really, it's the work. And the work, you will be successful if you just do the work.
I love that because you get to see or go through that or hear from other people about, people go to college, university, PhDs, whatever, and they have this professor, this, what have you. And there are two types of teachers: those who are, like you mentioned, implementing, right?
Yeah.
Like they own a business and also teach the business. And you got those that just teach respectfully. Both are great. In your specific case, in our industry, that's the beauty of it, that you get to do both, right?
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
if you if you're a generous person like you are, to be out there also, like, I want to coach, I want to teach, I want to mentor, I want to support other people. You said something, by the way, I want to ask you. You said that it gives you this um, pleasure, this excitement, satisfaction when you see other people potential, and you can enhance that. Why is that?
Um, uh, you know, um, couldn't really, not, I don't really understand it myself. It's always kind of been there. And yeah, I think we take, in this industry, we take a lot of rejection and negativity, and some people can't handle that, right? When you coach teenagers on a basketball court, not all of them like you, right? We're really into having people like us is in our industry, um, but it's not about that. It's about that one kid who didn't think that he was good enough to make it to the next level, changing their mind. And then years later, them going, Coach, I still remember everything that you told me. Like, most of the time, you feel like you're getting your butt kicked by everybody and they're not believing you. And all you have to do is listen and do this. And sometimes it feels frustrating. But that moment that somebody comes back and says, Hey, Coach, you changed my life. You know, I get emotional even like kind of thinking about those times because they're so powerful. And I've had people like that in the industry, in my educational background, that have changed my life.
I was about to ask you, yeah,
Yeah,
can you share like one instance that was impactful in that way, that made
yeah, yeah,
you are
yeah.
today?
I mean, it takes me all the way back to high school, and my government teacher who uh, spent a lot of extra time and care because I wasn't the greatest student. I'm a high sufferer of ADHD and the entrepreneurial. I'm the perfect case for moving from E to P, right? So purposeful is difficult. I've really got to plot my but I think he recognized that in me, and then also saw potential and started just taking an interest in my life. And then I became the president of a club in school that was geared towards going out to elementary schools and talking about discrimination, name calling, all of that stuff. And it became a really impactful club. I became interested in local politics because of him. I almost ran for city council in Santa Clarita, and that was another reason of getting involved in real estate. Is like, they're so hand in hand, politics and people's home ownership rights and property tax rights, all of those things. But so if it wasn't for a teacher taking an interest and just you know in a very difficult time, just showing a little extra care, um, that one thing, just that one little like, hey, come to my class after school and let's talk about your future kind of thing. Um, if that hadn't happened, I don't know what path I would be on. And I actually ran into him at a concert at the Greek, and I got the opportunity to tell him that,
Mm.
in this, you know, 30 years later, I just need to tell you how much you changed my life. And, if it wasn't for, that one little tweak or that one little, shift, that 1% change that you put into me, I don't know if I would have made it to here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, by the way. But I wanted to, others to hear that, because clearly we all have someone like that, or it's even greater when we had it and we're aware of it, but then we can pay it forward.
Sure. Well, and another example, Meny, and I love you. We met throughout, giving back to SRAR and everything, but then I got the opportunity to kind of watch what you're doing and everything. So this isn't a brown nose session, by the way, guys, but but one of those things like I was in leadership when we met, and you know there's a real connection that you have with the people that work around you, and that giving back and that feeling of it's not about me, it's about you guys. And I remember ALC Clinic, and you have several locations, and everybody came, everybody was standing up, everybody was engaging each other, everybody was laughing and talking with each other. And some of the other tables were like, what's going on with them? That's weird. And I said, no, that's what happens when people actually like each other.
Hey, we'll take weird, right? And thank you. And here you are, part of the
Yeah,
part of the
100%. That's
community,
infectious. People want to work with each other and help each other grow. And I think a lot of times, and we see this, and you've asked me about leadership in Keller Williams, and I love Keller Williams, and I love the culture, and I love the things that are down on paper, but we're human beings, and a lot of times those things are being passed on by human beings, and not a lot of times, sometimes people don't actually, you know, when that's our culture, sometimes human beings stray away from that, unfortunately. This is supposed to be a culture of collaboration and support, and helping each other level up, and competition, but friendly competition. And the place where we truly say, hey, whatever I have, please take it and use it. But people get jealous and competitive, and sometimes our leadership doesn't reflect those things. And I think you do an amazing job of reflecting that, and that's why I think so many people are just magnetized towards KW Luxury.
Thank you. We definitely mirror one another when it comes to that, for sure. What are your goals for this year?
My goals for this year are to, I'm back in production again, and I want to not only in the production numbers and all of that. I want to be a top producing agent in all of my markets, all of that stuff, but not for me and not for my ego. I've never been a real ego guy. I've never had to have the most sales or the most anything. I just want to be able to live my life by design, as we talk about. Um, you know, but I also want to be able to give that to the people who I'm growing my team right now, and I'm looking for people who, not just for, as a team leader, you want to put, give to all of your agents in a brokerage. Now I have the opportunity to really kind of narrow my focus and work with the people that, want to put in the same sort of dedication and time that I do, the ones that want to be taught, right? So, a lot of times there's people out there, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right? But I now get to work with like-minded people that I would love to help them grow their career. I would love to help them grow their what's happening in their personal lives, or the things that they are interested in outside of business. Again, it's that coaching mindset of, not only do I get to be a successful realtor, I get to pass that on to anybody who wants it, anybody who raises their hand, anybody who says, you know what, I like your style. Can you show me a little something? Because you can learn something from everybody, and you should learn something from everybody. But I'm looking for that connection and that organic. We click. Let's help each other level up. Become a part of my family.
I love that. And again, by your action, it clearly shows. We saw you just around the time that join our group, the luxury offices here on stage, right? You one time you came, you shared some insight about the CAR, the local board, etc. Different time was pure coaching,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I mean, if I would be right now in full-time in production, I would definitely consider to be coached by you because you already said it. It's all about the potential. If
yeah,
someone can see our potential from the outside and say, you can do much more. I'm going to show you how.
Yeah.
That's the win-win that we were talking about all the time.
Yeah, that's a very good point too, because the first chapter of Millionaire Real Estate Agent, right? It's not about the money. Like the success for me is not about I want to be a top producing agent because I want to blah 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 blah. It's because I want to I want to grow myself. I'm always in competition with myself. I always want to be the better version of myself. And I love that. Like getting to the peak ends up being about the journey, right? It's about, through coaching high school basketball, it's about those long practices where we were really working hard. Like we get to that point where we win league, that's amazing. That's the pinnacle. But the real wonderful part and the thing that we talk about and the memories that we have are of the late night practices or the early morning practices. It's for us it's the getting a group together and doing power hour on the phone, learning from each other what our scripts and dialogues are. I mean, Richard has a great dialogue thing in the mornings that are just top notch. And just again, I've been a high level agent. I've been a team leader at Keller Williams, and I don't get to those as much as I need to. I need to be at those every single day. Like we never get better than fundamental training. Like we should always be working on our dialogue. We should always be working on stuff with collaborators. We should always be taking a look at our presentations and our marketing and all of that stuff. We never get better than that. Like I'm never too good to do the fundamental work, right? I'm never too good to talk to Richard and go back and forth on something that's changed in the industry, and now we need to figure out how to talk about it. And as soon as that ego takes us to a point where I don't need that, that's the moment that we actually start going down. We start going down the mountain instead of reaching that peak.
I love that. It's I mean, look, um, humility is also a skill, right? Because
Yeah,
you remind yourself, how to act and how to behave and how to approach, etc. Because you also have to protect your interests at the same time, right? So
yeah,
if you're conscious about it, it makes a big difference, but it makes you purposeful giver, which is the highest form of success.
sure.
And you clearly embedding that. And we have amazing people in our community that are just like that. So it's only enhancing that experience.
Yeah,
So I appreciate everything that you say, and I hope that people that are watching us now and later will, it will hit, because it's really about that. And another thing that I appreciate you saying is about train hard, because then on the game, home game or away game or whatever,
yep.
it's gonna be everything's gonna be already like conditioned in our mind. It's gonna be much easier.
It's muscle memory. And there's one thing that I say all the time. And I'm a sports guy, so I always use sports analogies. But even if you're a professional NBA player, you don't stop shooting free throws. You don't stop shooting inside the arc. I tell my basketball kids, I said, you know who Steph Curry is? And they're like, of course. And they all want to take half court shots and shots from everywhere. I said, he takes 1,000 shots inside of the 3-point line before he starts shooting outside of the 3-point line, because he is never too good to practice dribbling, practice passing, practice free throws. Those are the fundamental things. Those are the high percentage shots. And the high percentage shots in our industry are understanding our dialogue, making our contacts and connections, whether you're a phone call person or not, or a door knocker. But we can't get away from the fundamentals, and there's no magic pill on how we're going to get more business. It's still belly to belly contact. And that's the fundamentals of it. And if you want to grow your business, you have to figure out how to get past yourself, get past your fears, get past your self-doubt, get past that drunk monkey, and get out there and just be yourself and talk and be authentic.
100%. I love that. Yeah. And what you mentioned, that, sports analogy also in our industry, the script practice, the sales meeting, the
Yep.
repetition, etc. It's
Family reunion.
even mega camp
Yeah.
coming up, etc. It's really
Yeah.
about forcefully practice in order to improve your self-discipline skill set and your mental toughness. And
Yeah.
people always ask, like, how can I do this? How can I do that? You just do it, you suffer through it, but that
Yeah.
makes you the one percenter.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is that the work, that part of it isn't the sexy part of what we do, right? But it's the money making thing that we do. It's the success building thing. It's that the stuff that keeps us viable, right? And it's again, it's discipline. We talk about this a lot in Keller Williams. It's simple, not easy, right? The concept is simple. Show up, right?
Yes.
Do the work. It's not, there's nothing crazy that we have to do. We don't have to go to school for many, 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 many years to get this. I wasn't saying your name, but to become a realtor. Like I've seen people who were terrible in high school who could barely get through an English class who are millionaires right now in this industry. And I've seen people who have PhDs just not be able to connect the dots and not be able to crack the code. And it's not because of anything other than, somebody had discipline in what they were doing. That's it. They showed up, they did the reputation, they filled their pipeline, they did the stuff that's unsexy, and they do it, and they become, it becomes, top producers' mindset is lead generation has gotten me this, so I'm going to keep, and I'm going to now do 8 hours of lead generation because think of how much further I'm going to be down the road. We start with half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, do lead generation, make that a non-negotiable. Once you start seeing that, you become almost addicted to lead generation because you know what it's going to do for you.
Right, right. Again, the repetition builds a muscle, and that creates a predictable environment. And if you're getting success, you want more of that because that's really that is the secret
Yeah,
recipe, by the way, uh,
yeah.
for any industry. Um, I put Anthony's cell phone number on the chat. If anybody wanna reach out to you, run things by you, ask more things or what have you. Are you gonna be here this coming Monday in our Valley meeting? We're doing a
Oh,
mastermind
yes.
panel.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, absolutely. I can't wait to download my personal experiences from family reunion. And
Oh,
but yeah, no, absolutely. Anybody and anytime. Like for and again, I love being of service. I love helping, and I love our community. I love realtors. So people speak my language. I'll sit down and talk to anytime, right? And I learn. Most of the time I learn more from you than anybody else does from me. So. Um, Anybody reaches out, I mean, we're family, so reach out, connect anytime.
well, Anthony Bedgood, you're a role model, and I appreciate being in business with you. That was a little taste of who you are, and looking forward to having amazing journey together.
No, absolutely. And I know I'm not very deep, actually. That's probably as deep as I go. So
Deep enough,
again,
man. So
I need to set expectations and then under
gotcha.
promise, over deliver.
Yeah. So if you guys in the area, Monday in our luxury office in the West Valley, Woodland Hills, stop by, watch a few of us on panel, and also Mr. Bedgood. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And great to see everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you.
good day.
Thanks, Anthony.
Nice to meet
Absolutely.
you.
Nice to
Thanks,
meet you too.
Anthony. This is
Look forward to
Teresa.
meeting you all in person one day.
Hey, I have this for
Absolutely.
family now. Can I borrow $100?
Absolutely. It's
Doug, you
the check is in the mail, Brian.
Doug, you can stop recording.